pertain to our subject area, could we not? Absolutely. So, what we're going to do, and we had a first prize, that's an English teacher for you. First prize winner, Donna Campano, which got a large chocolate bunny. And then we had a second prize winner with a small chocolate bunny. Yeah, we have more prizes. Yay! So, here we go. Now it's your turn. We're going to develop a bingo game for your subject area. Slight change. Students will answer the questions in complete sentences and then write the person's name who answered that question. Okay, so they can, or depending on your class, and you know what your classroom students look like, you can have the person that they contacted for the answer write the answer in complete sentence and sign it. Okay? For example, Vanna is not on task here. Okay. So, how do you find the area of a square? And the answer could be, the square's area can be found by multiplying the length of the height by the length of the width. Since they're the same, a side can be squared to get the area. I don't know how young they are when they square them, so you know, I didn't know which way we went. But anyway. And Janie Jones. Answer that. Okay? That's all you'd have to have in those squares. So you're going to ask questions. They're going to answer in complete sentence, which is going to make them think through the answer. Okay? And then they again will you'll have a little competition for them. I would have it be a little smaller bingo area. You know, 5. And if you notice, your bingo card now has 5 by 5 instead of 6. We didn't know how many people were going to show up today, so you know, we had to allow everyone to mingle. Okay, so you know what you can do with your subject area, what kinds of questions that they're capable of answering. You don't want to get too easy. You want them to think. You could have them make up their own and then switch to someone else, and they have to do the whole thing. You could use this in lots of different ways, but I want you to do yours right now, which you could use in your class tomorrow if you wanted to.
I'm not tomorrow, Monday.
Monday. Okay. Oh, for those of you who are on spring break, you could do it, you know, follow.
I'm going to
You're going to have a nice mixture, which probably be good. The question was, what are some questions too easy? Well, you know your students. If you're teaching a gifted class, I would say I wouldn't have too many easy ones on there. However, most of us do not teach all gifted classes. You're going to need some easy questions on there. There you go. I'd have a nice mix.
Do y'all have an extra bingo sheet? Because I like the way she does hers better. There's still too much room, but if I put 1, like 01, and write the questions on the back,
you could do whatever
they could write their answers inside the bingo. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's not room.
Whatever. Okay.
Well, you can type it.
You're going to type. You'll probably want to type yours.
Just make a table and then type it in.
Type it in.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of tables on computers. I can write it real nice and neat.
Okay, while you're doing that, we're going to multitask.
Over here on this
I
side.
want everyone to listen because I don't want you to screw yours up.
Taking a picture.
Okay. When I come around with the little Easter basket, you're to take 1 plastic egg, do not open it. And you may take a chocolate that you may open if you'd like and put it in your mouth. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I'm on.
Will you rub off on me? Because that's not right. You can.
Someone else with a baseball.
Thanks. I think the coins are like Nestle's Crunch and the bunnies are just chocolate.
Oh.
You bet. Well, you can have whatever color you want. The coins are like Nestle's Crunch.
I think it's easier to manipulate with your,
Coins are
because
like
you can
Nestle's Crunch
insert
and
graphics,
these are
you can insert text anywhere you want, and you can just kind of manipulate it around.
And it would also be, I think it's easier to make tables in PowerPoint than it is to make it in, you know, way easier.
Oh, yeah.
Or in Smart Notebook. Either way is way easier than it is to do it in.
Smart Notebook, the software's update, and it won't let me upgrade it because my computer's too old.
So PowerPoint is really good. That's what I use because I don't like making it
Because
more.
I've
It's too rough to make everything nice and pretty.
Suzanne for help with that, and we repeatedly come up with, oh wait, we've got a computer that's too old for this.
What I'm thinking is like each section,
The process of writing is
doing bingo. What if you could do is like,
They use the word agent.
Did everyone, oh, no, they didn't. Right here.
There are more little hands over there. They're kind of buried in there. I would have been greedy.
Okay, Melissa, this is the lucky one right here.
and we're making it, we're supposed to get it on Tuesday. With bunny. And you got,
There are more chocolates if anybody needs it.
So I have to be real.
No, that's it.
Yes, but it's since school started, I get it. Here's the list.
I was gonna say, you look good.
But I have to just
I'm gonna get back to teaching.
there are questions on the board.
See, I gained weight during this school year, lose weight during this school year, because I eat when I'm stressed.
I would normally do that too. I would, and the difference this one is that I didn't stop going. I stopped going. But either ask the question, yes, she already mentioned her.
Yeah, but instead of doing bingo, and you do just like you said, that 3 by 3, then I could do like a 3 by 6 or rush and she buys me a tie.
You can do like 3 by 3, but she'll figure it out. Because she's 3 now.
Her number.
And so what she did before.
Because like you said, she's my rational numbers, but she's
Rational numbers was tied, it never.
your rational. Rational numbers and fractions and fractions.
That's good.
But now we're gonna bump it to half, it's not a rational number, because half.
I said, how do you find the volume of the side of your
There you go. And if they repeat, I like they repeat, they're irrational. Terminate their rational.
As long as they, we're gonna share these girls.
So they have to solve this one.
So we were just thinking, okay, so whenever you put up the answer, they have to write. I'm gonna put with.
And that would be great.
Pull the answer like 8 because of hate.
It's just like, what are the states that have?
Yes, and you could also
the area of the,
and you could do so that their things are in different places.
Or even you could just give them our answers. These are the answers to the,
And if they get a question. I like the way you're thinking that this is not just a straight out, oh, this is the only way it'll go. There are lots of you coming up with different ideas on how to use this. And we're going to share those in a minute with your cohorts here so you can all have the benefit of all of your different thinking.
like in a 4x4, I think 40 of them, like boxes, and then we have somebody go across and then each box for them to do all 4 problems in a row.
About 4 minutes.
Did she know this person?
It's supposed to be.
Because that's got to be, because I don't know here, this person right next to that person. Because the moment being,
How are we doing?
A lot of questions.
If you are more than halfway finished with your blocks, could you just give me a high sign?
Is there a reason that you ran this person?
It's funny, it sounds annoying when you see much.
That's okay.
And I
so I have to force myself. But I do it in a system that realizes. But I think my version, I have to force myself to go on 1 unit at a time. So it's pretty bad. But it's kind of this other. Red means white. You have it all done. What is that thing? It's like, the break. This opposite Jane Red. I am. Well, because I was looking at these things.
I started seeing all the questions.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, so that it's down in that.
Probably gonna have better weather. Or not.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's neat. That's neat. That is It really does.
It's kind of like an oxymoron.
Yeah.
What you were looking for.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
And that's why Spencer and I get along so well. Yeah, we're having
How do you?
It's pretty bright though.
I did draw also. Draw. Stationary.
I can't get this right.
learning new things every day.
That's the hardest thing, is figuring the technology out.
But I mean,
Well, last night I was
I can come everything on my quick.
I got it on resurrection. That was good. Oh, that is good.
Where's all energy?
I'm out of questions. Just chemistry. Well, I thought that might be too easy, but I'm glad you remembered that. That's good. I asked her about more than that, calculated. Oh,
Still need to tell you what a mole is.
I'm going to do calculus.
Let's see what you
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's good.
describe this.
Okay, I think that the vast majority of you have over half of this complete. And even though I know you would like to have it all finished, we kind of need to move on. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to dangle a carrot, literally. It's a chocolate one.
Oh.
And I need someone to come up and share your bingo, your ideas for bingo for us.
I'll share.
Okay, it's ready. The Elmo is ready for you.
Oh, okay.
She wants chocolate, give her chocolate. I want chocolate.
So what I did is I thought of all of the things that my kids need to know for the start, for science, 5th grade. And so I have, can you read them all, or?
Well, give us a nice sampling.
So I thought of all of my categories, and I just kind of went from 1 down to, I jumbled them so that they weren't all in a row.
Here you go.
Random sequential.
Random sequential. I'm telling you.
Craig was saying there's one that you can put in and it'll randomize.
It will scramble.
It'll scramble it for you. One of the things that I thought of while I was doing this is maybe make it a little smaller so that, I don't know, because I like this now. But I was also thinking that on the back, I was going to put 1 through however many I had, and that's where they can write their answers, so they can just write across it who they got their answer from.
Okay. Can I interject?
Yes.
My thought, because these are small squares,
Yeah.
obviously, is that you could do, okay, we're going to take this much today.
Yeah.
Then you would have that enlarged on your sheet for the day, okay? And then they would have this, maybe you didn't have as much time the next day. And then this, and then when you put it together, it's you know, if you've taken the whole thing. But they could see it as a card and then it just squares.
Yes.
Or you could have your questions numbered and they do the blocks, answering the blocks. Or you could say, you could randomize them, as they said, because there's that tool.
You can go online.
It's online and it'll say, make your own bingo.
game, and they'll automatically scramble it, so not everyone's looks the
So
same.
everyone's is different.
But with the same
And so
questions.
you can give them a question or put questions up. They answer it, and the first one to get a bingo, because they're answering on this thing, you could do that. And then you could, you know, dangle a carrot.
Yeah. And the thing is, like what Deanne was saying, and you could use this bingo card maybe sort of as an opener all week. You might not answer all 25, 30 questions the first day,
Almost like a
but do like 5 or something. And so they could do that.
I love that because that just brought to my an example, because one of my coworkers, I don't know where she has the idea, but where she has a smiley face, a straight face, and a sad face on where they had the vocabulary and what they understood, they would put it with the smiley face, and what they're not sure, they would put the word. But that makes sense that as we go along with the lesson, in the end, they're like, oh, I got a bingo, miss, because I understood all of these, and they can explain it. I like that in your journal.
You can use it for journal. Excellent, thank you, thank you. I have another carrot.
I was going to add on to Tanya's. I was doing 5th grade science as well, but I was breaking it up into physical science, so having 3 different bingo cards.
Oh, yeah.
A physical science board, a earth science board, and then a life science board, so that you could get a few more types of questions on there for each of the 3 categories of science that
And
we
you
work
can
on.
also go back and see, if you break it up like that, which one are they lowest in? Do I need to focus on life science with this one, or should I, worry about earth
Right.
science with this one? Yeah, that's
Excellent, excellent. Okay, another carrot is being dangled. Who had a different, come on down.
Do I have to go up there? I don't have to go up there, do I?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
you don't
I
have
was
to do
thinking
anything.
that this would also be a good, you could kind of flip it where you gave them the answers. You said, these are the answers to the questions you have to write. So that when I pull out, give us, you're like, oh, the full phase, or, the phase before the full moon, or something like
What
that.
is the
So-
phase?
Right, so like a
Yeah,
verse
there's
though, but they have to,
That's hard.
we're giving them the answer, they have to write the questions, which would be tougher, which would be like, I would do a 3x3 card if I were going to do something like that. I wouldn't do very many, and then give them a free space too,
Or just have them come up with their own question, their own bingo cards, and then.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's also a Jeopardy game online that you can put in your own questions and your own, and it comes up with either you get the point or you don't get the point, and it
Makes it a PowerPoint.
Yeah, it makes it a PowerPoint. It's really nice. So
What I like about this, though, is it holds every kid accountable. With those Jeopardy games, you can have those kiddos that kind of sit back. If you look at how we did our activity today, every one of us was interacting with it, from the highest kid to the lowest kid, and I'm just thinking, when I want learning to occur, in those whole class games, just like Dr. Browning talks about whole class core responses.
Spencer would be just all over it.
Oh, Spencer would be all over it. But, I've got other kids in my class that wouldn't be. They sit back, because we've done Jeopardy games before, and they're sitting back, they're not gaining the learning. This forces them, and they can find that
They have
one that they
something-
can answer.
And they also have something to use for review.
Yes.
Yes.
One thing I do with whole group games like that is that all my kids have a whiteboard, and they all have to discuss and have the same work. So if I call on one of those little babies, they have to be able to explain it because they discussed it as a group. Yeah, they might not understand it, but when they're discussing it with their partner, maybe something might click that we said a million times, but when a student says something, they understand it more than me.
Another way I do that too is when they're doing the group, like you, they're working as a group together, I roll a dice. And I say, okay, I need group number 2, the 1 person. I need group number 2, the 3 person. And they have to be able to
Right.
explain it. So if they're not paying attention, it could be anybody.
Right.
Right. It holds all of them accountable.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, I have another carrot. Anybody else have a different? Come on down.
Well, mine is, I'm going to use it actually this week for review for our Newton's Law test. So
Awesome.
we'll take the first 15 or 20 minutes, thank you. That's right. First 15 or 20 minutes and let them do this and then go into the test.
Good. I'll bring that forward.
The only thing I was gonna mention was to make sure that there's levels of questioning, that they're not just one type of question, that they're, higher level and you know, a certain amount of lower,
Which is kind of what we were talking
mid-range.
about with either you have a gifted class or not so much.
One thing you might, if you have time, differentiated learning, you could make color code. Your really hard questions are going to be in red. Your medium are going to be in blue. Your lower questions will be in black. And as the kids come in, you give them a dot. You're red. And so you've got to find someone's question on their bingo card in red. That way the low kid,
Doesn't have to
or
try
if
to.
a really smart kid's been absent for a week, he still can play. He gets a black one, an easier answer. And so you can differentiate that way. If if you just do a highlighter and customize it.
Any others? I have more carrots. I'm dangling.
Oh, here's one.
Yes.
I did like a review because we're starting like a STAR blitz, so that they can practice all the stuff that they've learned. So I went through and I was doing a little bit of everything. So it's just a lot of review.
But now I'm thinking about how you did an icebreaker, and what a great way to do a pre-assessment, where you know where you want to go, and then you hand it to them and see how many you can fill out, just to kind of see where they're at, and to kind of have an idea of what do they know,
Kind of like at the end of our unit, you should be able to answer all these questions.
Right, so you give it to them at the beginning, and then at the end, and see, well, were you able to fill your board up more?
Whose pre-assessment is that? Is that the student's pre-assessment? Because it's too late for the teacher. They
What do you
have to know
mean?
that. They
Because
have
you should
to
have already-
pre-assess what their students know before they plan the instruction.
Right.
So is it pre-assessment?
But she just said that
Beginning of-
that would allow the students to see at the end, they do the same board and they could see.
That's what I asked, so
Right.
that was a pre-assessment for the student.
Right. I guess if you were gonna do a pre-assessment for you, you'd have to do it a few weeks ahead of time, and then take that and use that to guide that instruction. Not the first day of the unit, here, let's pre-assess, but a little ahead.
Even, you could throw out questions if you're doing the first day of school, and you use this as a getting to know you idea, and you could throw in some questions that you think that they should know, and then you'll find out. Do they really know it? If they do, I don't really have to teach that. We'll just move on. Oh, like 9 out of 10 don't know that. Whoops, I'm gonna have to start at square one. And throw in your blue eyes and your whatever, and just think, well, what is this and what is this? So that you have kind of an idea for maybe each of your units. I'm expecting them to come in with this knowledge. They don't have it. Okay, now I have to back up. So it's always, you can use it anyway. But anyway, you can see that not only that, but you can assess their thinking and writing skills. How do they think, how do they write? Especially if you're using the answer question idea, and you might do a couple of those and a couple of the others and see how they do. Any other ways to use this that have come up as we've been talking? Is there anyone in here that thinks, I can't use this in my classroom because it just won't work? See? Awesome. I say, yes, this is good. Okay, so we have one tool that you can use in various ways, and you all are just thinking really fast. I love it. Yeah. Oh, we can't see because I'm on a new world. New world. HDMI, here we go. Okay. Monica emailed you and asked you to bring a lesson. How many of you did that? 1, 2, 3 people?
I have lessons.
Actually.
A writing sample.
Well, the writing sample had to come from some kind of lesson, right? I mean, a lesson that incorporated a writing? Okay, so you have, okay, those of you who do not have one, please raise your hand and Virginia's going to bring you a piece of paper because everyone's going to play. Everyone gets to play. I have yours from you.
It's so cute.
And you teach them how to, do a rough draft.
Anyone else? Oh,
Kayla's name treasure, she treasures.
Do we need one of those even if we brought a lesson?
If you bought your lesson, you got it. Okay. She's usually going out. She's even and then I have 2.2.
It's probably higher than me.
2.0.
Still in there. They say that those kids read on their 12th grade level. No, they don't.
No.
Just certain tags.
Learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not reading on a 12th grade level. I'm not going to put the 12th grade science on my 12th grade level. And they're going to understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You should have in your hand either the lesson that you brought that incorporated writing or the lesson you did on Friday. You're thinking about what you did on Friday. I don't care what the lesson was. Remember that we can incorporate writing in any lesson. It can happen. That will simply make learning the subject matter a little easier or perhaps even more in depth. So keep in mind when you're thinking about that, especially those of you who brought your lesson, those of you who did not, you already have these in front of you, these questions. But did your lesson incorporate writing? If so, what kind of writing? Where in the lesson did the writing take place? If you incorporated writing in the lesson, can the opportunity for writing be improved? How? And if no writing was incorporated, where in the lesson would be a good place for writing to occur? What type of writing would you choose to do in that lesson? So, I want you to think about those questions, those of you who brought your lesson with you. Think about what kind of writing you used. Was it successful? If not, we need to talk about it and see why it wasn't or how it could have been improved. Maybe if we used it in a different place, all those things make a difference, okay? If you didn't, fill out the form that Virginia brought you.
Can we just use our answers on
Yes.
here, even if we have the lesson?
Oh, if you have the lesson, then I want you to think about those questions.
But we don't have to write our answers down.
No, because we're going to share. Everybody gets to share.
Okay, cool.
Everyone, without exception, is going to share a lesson. So keep that in mind.
You have to be able to answer these questions given your lesson.
Okay. Should we get
if you want one.
yeah, so that we know what to?
We have to write down our.
These are the questions that are on there.
Thank you.
These are the same questions that are on there.
Okay. So,
It's because I don't have a lesson to look at to remind me what it was.
oh, okay.
But you have that, so you know what your lesson is.
That's, it's a personal narrative.
Cute, cute.
It's a scholastic book, and have these little John.
Do you have that template?
I do. I'll send it to you. Yeah.
See why we like you to bring lessons, because you get ideas.
And it takes months, but I didn't let them tape it. I didn't let them cut anything or cut colors until they wrote a draft. They had to write first, they gave them prompts, and they wrote it, then they had to look it over and write, you know, but I wanted to do better. I mean, I had a student next to me, and then they had to edit together. And then in English, they could capsulate, or there's gonna be a lot of explorers, but they had to look at it. But it's real exciting. And they have mysteries, they have all genres. I've done this every year since I've been teaching 5th grade, and I learned something every year. Don't let them color, don't let them cut. After they write their draft, then I say, now this is what you do. And then they're like, you know, because they want to get to this part, and they know they're not going to get to this part.
What do you teach?
Come look like also.
That's the job I applied for at Clearfield, was a self-contained.
We're teaching today is so used to everything being.
It was a 5th grade position. I think it was actually it was already taken apparently at the time when they interviewed me for the position. This last year. No, this fall, like right before school
You're going to
started.
add somebody to your job?
Tamara, she was in my interview.
Why it is.
And they already had someone planned to hire. I found out later because one of my friends goes to church with one of the people there.
Worked out in your favor.
Because 5th grade is like where I, like that's my dream. That's where I want to be is in 5th grade.
Shakespeare, yeah, and I mean, from what I heard, that Hannah doesn't go there and she's trying to stay close to you. In order to one school in order to keep another.
Yeah, think about what happened with junior. We stole Mr. Estrada from Plum Creek, where he was doing good at Plum Creek, and now he's stolen it.
I know. I just thought.
Doing okay at the junior high school?
You know, maybe it's a word.
You like it?
Cool.
I don't have anything
So
to,
you know, style.
but it seems like a pretty killer principal.
Is this your first year teaching?
And try to develop a sense of the importance of words.
From what I hear, what used to be at the junior high.
I mean, when you're
So,
I know,
I've not heard one person say she was nice to me. Nice as a person, not as a principal yet.
I can't wait to study. So that I know where
They have issues with everybody. If they're gonna do because they have to do that, they have issues.
I know, because they just want to
That would be an issue. That would be.
well, yeah, I mean, it's like a little one but like, you know, I have seen this wonderful teaching and really I would not and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can't keep on top of his name. Like, I don't
If anything, he is probably
Overzealous.
I don't know, but for some, yeah.
Since day one, I thought he was like very easy to talk to, very personable.
Just from working with them and their frustrated, I would have loved to have worked.
I think this.
I wonder how we get the kids to understand in the workplace.
I feel like sometimes people get bored.
Because then they'll start using more different customers.
And they say the biggest issue they have is they can't write it.
And I mean, there's
If there's a situation where they have to, the coworker has to communicate something
it's
to them.
exhausting.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Oh, like the
like,
I don't know what you
it doesn't
said.
matter what we do, we will be unhappy. Just like,
I love these with the lines because, especially if the two lines in the
it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
So, I don't love it, yeah. And it's just the same because the rumors I hear about this going on, like,
I know.
I feel like that's not true. I feel like your kid is probably the one that's causing, oh, we have one from Blue Bonnet and one from Plum Creek.
Amen.
They were also named, they've also been in a different school in the district every year. What the problem be you? I don't know. Why are you moving so much?
Or there's other 20 people that come in contact with your dad with a problem.
Oh, I just retired, but I was teaching somewhere.
Ripped him out.
Yeah, that was the biggest battle I had was to,
Then after a while there.
I got to wonder if they were gonna write
Yeah.
it.
Get them back in our school. Yep.
Okay, are we ready?
We're school.
Does everybody have something to share?
You may found someone.
Here's the deal. You have a plastic egg. When you open it, jelly beans are going to fall out. Just letting you know, chocolate is not the only sweet in the world. Jelly beans are going to fall out, and in the inside cap of the egg is a number. And that is the order in which you're going to share your lesson.
Oh, sweet.
So this is the magic number.
That's your magic number.
This is the magic.
Yeah.
And everyone has to open your egg.
No, she doesn't.
I like jelly beans or chocolate.
So we can open them now is the point.
Oh my. Uh-oh, we need Kleenex here. Paper.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Do you like these colors?
Jelly beans.
Over $200.
You want to take it?
Okay. He's joking because everybody got a number.
Oh, how
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Okay, who is the lucky number one?
Me.
Brenna. But because you're one, guess what you get?
Oh, yay. Chocolate makes everything better.
That's right.
Thank you.
This is your lesson scope. I could be a hand model. No.
Okay.
Did you have to have it before?
So, I had to actually kind of wing it on Friday because I had planned an outside activity and it was miserable. So I used the notes that I was going to do after the fact and just bumped them. So we do 4, 3, 2, 1 notes for my class because I think I've taught 8th grade, so 5th grade I try to get them taking notes because I think it's ridiculous when they get to 8th grade and don't understand that concept. So we start with, they have to write 4 important facts from the PowerPoint, 3 vocabulary words that they learned and their definitions, 2 pictures or diagrams of what they've learned, as well as 1 question that they still have, and then I go through and answer the questions. So their writing was actually not in the notes. We got into talking about what a niche is, because we're talking about communities and populations and all that, and I had them think about what their niche or their role is in either their school setting or in their family setting at home, and then they had to write about it and share it with the class. The kids really enjoyed it because some of them thought that their role was the couch potato. I had one that was his role, making sure that the couch did not move. And I had to explain that no, that is not actually benefiting anything. That is not your role. And then they shared it. I think I probably could have had more vocabulary being used by I mean, it's just trial and error. You see, oh, I could have had them use the words community or population in a different way, but I was just thinking about niche. So now I know for the next time I can probably make that work better for me. And no, I didn't grade it, but I answer the questions on their notes so they get feedback. And they know that I'm looking at it, which is good. So that's
Now, could she have this 4-3-2-1? Could she have stopped there in the writing? I mean, incorporating writing in the lesson if that's the only thing she had time to do? Yes. Because that she is certainly writing with that. She could stress to the students to use proper sentence style, etc. But she went on and had them think about their niche in community or school. And she had feedback to them, not necessarily in writing and grading, but how? How did they get feedback from this? The sharing. I mean, in class, they got feedback from their peers, and I'm sure you had something to say about that as well. So, any ideas? Anyone think you could use something of this in your classroom? Oh yes, we're writing. You're right. Thank you, Brenda. Here's number 2.
Is it blurry? Well, it's orange. It could be because it's different color. So on Friday, I'm kind of with her on the night. On Friday, we were in the computer lab because we started doing a vacation project. Because the last bit of TEKS that we have is about personal financing and budgeting, teaching 5th or 7th graders how to budget. So, like, I gave them they had $1,500 to spend on a long weekend, and there was certain criteria laid out. And so we were in the computer lab, they were researching where they wanted to go, what attractions they wanted to see and all that. And then each day they have like a form that has to be filled out with complete sentences, like where'd you go? Today we went to blah, and then they have to talk like where it was that they went. They have to go to 3 attractions during that time. And then at the end, and it said did the involve writing, at the bottom of each day, because there's 4 days, there's a journal entry where they have to write 2 to 3 complete sentences about what they did that day. Obviously they did nothing because it's a fake trip, but they have to make up something that was good, bad, imaginary, yeah. And like my kids just ate that up. Like they were talking about, oh, I went to here and there was this roller coaster and it was the funnest day ever. And it was fake. And they got to drive because they all had 2013 Ford Explorers. They thought that was the coolest thing ever. But obviously, they could probably have more writing involved. But they're also doing a PowerPoint that they're going to share with the whole class that will go through like their trip and kind of show like where they spent their money. And like they had to keep a running budget and they had to be within $200 of that $1,500. Some of my kids are like, I'm going to San Antonio and stay with my aunt so I can save a bunch of money. I'm like, you have to spend at least $1,301. I'm like, yes, you might want to stay at like the Hilton or something. Aunt Susie or whatever, you know, that's free. You need to spend some money on the trip, so.
Any comments? Sounds fun. Sounds fun?
It was supposed to be 7 days, but they really couldn't understand sales tax, so I had to spend an extra 2 days in sales tax.
I don't understand it either. Why do they want all my hard-earned money?
It's amazing that when I gave them a calculator, they understood sales tax. I'm like, I think you don't understand that you're a little too lazy to multiply fractions.
Number 3, you're up.
We were swapping jelly beans.
Oh, swapping jelly beans, that's important.
Okay. So my day starts off with iStation. When they're through with iStation, then they have to write a paragraph, what they've learned, and then they share it out with the group. Then we go on to the reading lesson. And we do usually write in that one, but that day we didn't. We go on to think through math, and then the math lesson. And every day on their math lesson, I have this big board that says what stuck with me, and I have all a Post-it, and that's their exit ticket. Their exit ticket has to be one thing that I was struggling with before, and now what I know about it. Do I feel better about it? Can I explain it now? Where am I now? Both of those are used for me so that I can assess and see if I need to help them. Then I go on to afternoon is going to be science, and we were doing inherited traits and learned behaviors, and so I had them do a T-chart. Now that I'm thinking about it, I could have gone further with the T-chart, but my T-chart was basically just, you know,
the T.
Yeah.
Here it goes.
Some of the animals.
Hence
you
the
know,
reason it's a T-chart.
I think I said everything. I stole Brenna's.
We're not stealing here.
I borrowed it.
I'm sure that she gifted it to you.
I stole it from someone else.
You borrowed it.
As I said in the summer, for those of you here, we're all going to be shaking hands in Copyright Hill. That's where teachers are going to end up. Yes. Yep. Bye. How are you?
Good teachers are good.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions? Any comments? Any way that you see that you could use that in your own classroom? Yes.
What is iStation?
It's a reading program. Is it from Texas? Like, is it only Texas?
It's a reading thing, so to learn
It's just
about-
reading, but it incorporates science. So I like them to write what they learned about science while they were doing their iStation.
On the iStations, are they literally on computers?
Yes.
Yes, Chapel.
No, it's not.
It's not?
No.
Okay, so we did, it's called a personal narrative, and they're little pop-up books, and they start off by writing a draft of, the prompt is what I treasure most, and you talk to them about what you treasure most, you know, not materialistic things as much as maybe something, a family member or family, or anything that, you know, one little girl treasured fear the most because she felt that fear was something that drove her to try and strive harder. And she's a 10. It's okay, because everybody has, but yeah, I mean, I was trying to think, okay, fear, how's it, okay, she explained how it was for her, because sometimes it can go either way, so I'm thinking, do you want her to write this? So after they write a draft, and I learned every year that don't give them the cutouts, don't let them color before they write. So I just started with the plain sheet of paper, gave them the prompt, and I says, okay, you're going to make this, you know, and I show them what the end product will look like. But in order to get to this, you're going to have to do this, 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 and so on. And so after they write their draft, then of course they get with a peer, another student, and they look at each other's work, they read each other's paper, and does it make sense? And they ask each other questions. They look up words in the dictionary, how to spell. Of course, there's still going to be misspelled words, but with the kind of time that we have, you can't correct every single thing. You know, we're teaching them how to self-check themselves and so on. And Plum Creek is, fifth graders are self-contained, so we have to teach all subjects. So this was a week project. This wasn't a day, this is a week. And then on the inside, they'll just draw a little picture, of what they treasure most inside the treasure chest. And they can go on, so they can actually keep writing, and you can keep flipping and flipping. It can do as long as, as far as you want it to go. And that's what it's a personal narrative. They have mysteries. It's a Scholastic book that I use, and they have little cutouts or the forms.
Excellent. And you could use that. You could actually, dealing with math and science, you could have, instead of what do I treasure most, it could be what part of the earth.
And it's just this little cutout. And once they learn how to make this, they cut 2 slits right here. It's a piece of paper, and you just cut 2 slits and open it. They can put anything. They can, put anything in the front that they want.
Questions? Excellent, thank you. Beatrice, what's number 1? Number 5.
I don't want to put it because I have a lot of scratch outs on it.
It's okay. You'll get over it.
Okay. But we were doing Cycling Matter, and it was supposed to be a review to kind of see what they've learned and take from it, but there was a lot of pauses in between because of other things that are going on in school. But what I had them do was I provided them with the 3 diagrams of each cycle, and I had them describe the cycle in their own words, and then kind of like a summary description, and then and write the importance of that cycle. And I think where it kind of fell through is that I gave them all 3 at once. I think that was too many. I should have just did one at a time. And then if I should have focused more on the question of not saying what is the importance, but maybe go back and say, for example, how would plants be affected if carbon was not cycled? So I think that's what I could have did different.
Questions? Comments?
There's a water cycle game that when we taught the carbon cycle in 5th grade, we used to do the carbon cycle game, but it was like stations and everything. And I don't know what grade level you teach, but I can send it to you, or I can send it to her, and then that might be another way, because they're having to go through the stations and talk about how they got from this place to this place as a carbon molecule. Yeah, so.
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you. 6.
So